It's late evening on September 23rd, 1935. A freezing, relentless rain is washing over the industrial wasteland of Kingsbury Run, a dark, jagged ravine cutting straight through the heart of Cleveland, Ohio. Two young boys are walking along the muddy embankment near the train tracks, their coats pulled tight against the wind. Suddenly, one of them stops dead in his tracks, pointing a trembling finger down toward a patch of overgrown weeds beneath a rusted iron trestle bridge. Resting in the black mud isn't a discarded piece of industrial scrap or a pile of clothing. It is the unmistakable silhouette of a human torso. When the local precinct deputies arrive with flickering lanterns, the true horror of Kingsbury Run begins to unravel in real time. This isn't a standard, chaotic street robbery or a crime of passion. The body has been cleanly, surgically dissected with terrifying anatomical precision. The head is entirely missing. Within yards, investigators uncover a second victim, treated in the exact same clinical manner. There's almost no blood at the scene, suggesting the victims were slaughtered in a completely different, sterile environment before being transported to this lonely ravine to mock the city. The local newspapers instantly coin a name that sends an absolute shiver down the spine of the state. They call him the Cleveland Torso Murderer. He is a ghost who hunts in the margins of society, and he has just turned the industrial heart of America into his personal, grotesque laboratory. As the body count inside Kingsbury Run climbed to 4, then 5, then 6, the entire city of Cleveland descended into an absolute state of psychological siege. The local police department was completely paralyzed, trapped inside an investigative vacuum. The public demanded a savior. They needed a man who represented absolute, unbendable justice. Enter Eliot Ness. Ness was a national hero, the legendary, untouchable lawman who had just achieved the impossible by taking down Al Capone in Chicago. He was brought to Cleveland as the new safety director, tasked with cleaning up the city's corruption and hunting down the shadow in the ravine. Ness brought his signature, ruthless efficiency to the case, establishing a specialized torso squad and deploying undercover operatives along the train lines. But as Ness began reviewing the typed autopsy logs, his signature confidence hit a brutal, logistical brick wall. The killer wasn't a crude back-alley butcher. The incisions proved a deep, highly specialized knowledge of surgery or master-level taxidermy. Ness was no longer dealing with simple bootleggers or mob enforcers. He was playing a high-stakes, cerebral game of chess with a brilliant, predatory phantom who left 0 fingerprints, 0 murder weapons, and 0 identities for his victims. To fully comprehend how the torso murderer managed to completely evade the brilliant mind of Eliot Ness, you have to look directly at the unique, crushing landscape of the Great Depression. Kingsbury Run was flanked by massive, improvised shantytowns known as Hoovervilles. Thousands of displaced, transient workers, drifters, and forgotten souls lived in these crowded wooden shacks, completely off the grid of census logs and employment records. This was the killer's perfect hunting ground. He targeted individuals who wouldn't be missed for weeks, people whose disappearances never triggered a missing persons report. Ness realized that the killer was likely using the sprawling train network to transport his victims, utilizing the transient population as a literal livestock supply for his grim experiments. Ness launched massive, sweeping raids through the shantytowns, fingerprinting thousands of drifters, but the phantom remained entirely invisible. The killer was mocking Ness, intentionally depositing his clean, dissected specimens closer and closer to the downtown business district, proving that the legendary untouchable was completely powerless to protect the borders of his own city. By August 1938, the psychological pressure on Eliot Ness reached an absolute, catastrophic breaking point. The killer executed his most daring insult yet, dropping the severed remains of 3 victims directly within view of Ness's own office window at City Hall. The public and the press turned on Ness with a savage, unrelenting fury. The hero of Chicago was being publicly humiliated by an unidentified butcher. Desperate to deny the killer his hunting ground and flush him out of the shadows, Ness made the most controversial, ruthless decision of his entire career. At dawn on August 18, 1938, Ness ordered a massive force of heavily armed police officers to swarm the Kingsbury Run shantytowns. They forcefully evicted thousands of homeless residents, and then, under Ness's direct orders, they set the entire valley ablaze. Massive fires consumed the wooden shacks, turning the camps into a raging inferno of ash and smoke. Ness believed he was destroying the killer's sanctuary, but the public saw something else entirely. A desperate, broken lawman weaponizing destruction because he couldn't solve a crime. The raids yielded 0 suspects. The killer vanished into the smoke, and the spectacular career of Eliot Ness was permanently, irrevocably shattered. The fires of Kingsbury Run eventually burned down to ash, and shortly after the destruction of the camps, the horrific murders abruptly stopped entirely. The Cleveland torso murderer simply dissolved back into the fabric of history, leaving behind 12 officially verified victims, and potentially dozens more, whose true names were largely swallowed by the dark. Eliot Ness resigned from his position in Cleveland shortly after, his aura of absolute invincibility completely shattered, his political ambitions permanently ruined by a case he could never close. Because this investigation played out nearly a century ago, the physical records, the police logs, and the original suspects have all faded into the public domain, leaving behind one of the most haunting, unyielding riddles in the annals of American crime. The case reminds us that sometimes the most dangerous monsters aren't the ones who leave behind clues or look for a stage, but the ones who understand how to use the chaos of a broken society to stay completely invisible. The vault remains open. The pages are yellowed, but the silence of Kingsbury Run continues to echo through the centuries. I want to know what you guys think about Eliot Ness's extreme tactics. Did he cross a moral line by burning down the shantytowns? Or was it a necessary act of desperation to stop a monster? Let's talk about it down in the comments below. And please, keep the discussion deeply respectful of the history. Thank you so much for watching. Take care of yourselves, look out for one another, and I'll see you in the next deep dive. Bye.